Welcome to A Shot Between the Reels. My name is Dan, and over this side,
My name is Brendan.
hello, Brandon.
Hello, Dan. Lovely to see you.
Oh, likewise. It's always a joy to see your face, Brendan. You doing well?
I'm doing well as can be. Yourself?
Yep, doing all right. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm ready to talk about movies. I'm ready to have a frank discussion with you, Brendan.
Awesome.
So we just go straight into it.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
let's do it.
Brendan, tell us what the name of the film is that we're looking at tonight.
The name of the film this evening is Knives Out by Rian Johnson.
Yes, 2019.
Mm.
Fresh onto Prime Video for those of you who have paid Amazon your money and want to watch it. You can do it. You can go and watch it.
You can.
And if you go on Amazon at any point at the moment, you're probably going to see something that says Knives Out because it's a big deal.
Bit of a big push, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a big push.
Yeah.
So I think we might be, if you're umming and ahhing about getting Amazon Prime here in the UK, perhaps watching this video might sway your decision.
Possibly, yes. I would say a preface that we're probably going to spoil basically everything.
Oh, that's true. So you need to have already seen it.
Probably.
Oh, that's confusing, isn't it?
It's fine.
So we're not going to spoil it for you.
Not expensive.
Just buy Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It's great.
Go on.
And if you don't like that film, there's loads of others. Anyway, shall we talk about Knives Out? Rian Johnson. What was he did a film just before this one, didn't he? A few years before. What was it?
He did do Star Wars.
Oh yeah, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. One of the most Marmite Star Wars films.
Marmite Star Wars film is possibly the best way to describe how people feel towards that film. Definitely.
Yes, die-hard Star Wars fans seem to hate it. Most normal people quite like it. So yeah, I don't know. I quite like Last Jedi.
I mean, I would count myself as at least a die-hard fan of the original Star Wars films, and by that I do not mean the prequels.
Prequels, obviously, you mean your favourite film of the entire saga is Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah, hands down. so I did like. I did enjoy The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you've seen Looper.
One of the few people in the world that apparently enjoyed it, but
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
most of the time. Yeah, there's still some sequences which make my skin crawl, but we won't go into that. Canto Bite. Anyway, I quite like Looper. Looper's good.
Looper's great. Love
really
Looper.
Good. I enjoyed that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt getting his Bruce Willis on.
Yep.
Love it. And did you see Brick? Have you seen Brick?
Yeah, I love Brick as well.
Brick is good. Yeah. It's a solid indie film.
Yeah.
So this is, and we now come to Knives Out, 2019, and probably a cast to beat all casts. I mean, an ensemble piece. I mean, this would be a director's delight, you would think.
I would say so, yes.
I mean, he's written this film as well, so you kind of imagine Ryan writing that way, and he's thinking, oh, Christopher Plummer, he'd be good. Or, whoever. Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, yeah, I wonder if she'd mind watching myself. Yeah, so this must have been a dream come true, you would have thought, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So I think all the ingredients are for a great film. It's done quite a lot of it was around the awards, wasn't it?
Yep.
In awards season. So this was my first time watching it. Was it your first time, Brenda?
It was. I believe a while back I did. I think I started, but then I was distracted on something and I didn't go back. but I only watched maybe about the first just under 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
yeah, and it does take a little while to get into gear, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I kind of dropped off and then came back, and then I had every intention, if I'm honest, because this film is just over 2 hours. I had the intention of splitting it into 2 viewings because I'm a parent of 2 small children and often get very tired in the evening. But I could not look away. As it got to a certain, probably about halfway through the film, I couldn't stop it because I was enjoying it that much. So that'll give you a general idea as to how I feel.
So let's pump the brakes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's star rating time.
Yes.
And Brendan, I will allow your good self to offer your rating first. So Brendan, tell us your rating.
My star rating, Dan, is 4.5 stars.
Now, I feel really good because I thought that's what you were going to give it. I said to my wife, I was like, Brendan is going to give this film 4.5 stars. I know it. Well, I watched this film and decided to give this film 3.5 stars.
Goodness me.
So we are, I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. I think it's worth watching. I did not hate it at all. I enjoyed it. But obviously didn't like it as much as you. So that's fine. It's
interesting. Okay.
And ultimately, we want to enjoy our films, don't we? So I'm glad you had good pleasure watching this film. Brendan, talk to me. Tell me why. What's so good?
So, I've got a lot of notes in front of me detailing different things about this film and how I think it was handled. I suppose
he's got the notes.
We should probably talk about what we've said about it having a pretty all-star cast that we've got set up here. So, good cast. I would note the thing that didn't particularly work for me at the beginning was the fact that, and I think Rian Johnson also talks about it. So he said that the first part of the film feels like a bit of a slog when you're introduced to the characters and you're getting their perspective of the party. So the preface of this film is effectively it's a murder mystery. That's the idea, right?
Yeah, it's a whodunit.
Yeah, except the main character isn't really murdered, but that's by the by.
Spoil it, Brendan.
I think so. So the idea is that we've got all the different members of this family that are being interviewed, and that beginning part takes a little bit of time, I think, to get going.
So we have that patriarch character, Christopher Plummer, whose name is Harlan.
Harlan Thornby, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's a crime writer, very successful. Now he's old.
Yeah.
And basically his whole family have been living off his success, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we kind of go around at the start seeing who they are, what their problems are, and kind of how they kind of function within the family. And it's you see these sort of interviews as well, don't you? Well, you find out it's kind of like the secondary set of interviews.
Yeah. So you're getting those kind of really good introductions, and what I think works well about that sequence is that it's told from all the different perspectives of all the different characters listening into similar conversations in different ways.
Yeah, and that's always good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. Crucially, you get the introduction of Ana de Armas' character, Marta, isn't it? And when she comes into the story immediately, I think it's kind of great because she's the very deer in headlights kind of thing. She's not part of the family, and there's that whole funny thing. The more that I was reflecting back on watching it, where they talk about how she wasn't invited to the funeral, and everyone says,
I was outvoted.
Almost all the characters say I was outvoted, which basically gives you an impression that all these people are horrible people.
Yeah, none of them voted for her. Yeah.
So even though they talk a big thing about, oh, you're part of the family, they
Yeah.
actually don't mean it at all, and that becomes
There's
apparent.
also another thing as well where they all refer to her nationality, and they
I
keep
love
getting
that.
it wrong, don't they? They keep saying like a different country, so you can clearly tell they don't really care about this person at all.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. I really enjoyed like little elements of that they don't really have a care at all for it, even though they're claiming that they do. So you get all these different members of the family, and then you get also Daniel Craig playing Benoit Blanc, and
hmm
he, oh my word! I mean, he does possibly the finest Southern drawl for a British man. It's
yeah,
it's very good. I think it's quite hammy, and I really enjoy how hammy it is. I'll be honest. I think it's great.
yeah. I gotta be honest. That was one of the things I really didn't enjoy.
Do you not? I got into the
No,
spirit of it very much.
I wanted to, but I think part of. Did you ever see House of Cards with
No,
Kevin
so no,
Spacey?
I never watched House of Cards. No.
Okay, so if you go and watch just a clip of it,
Hmm.
right? Kevin Spacey has the exact same accent in that film, in that TV series,
Oh wow,
right?
really?
And I just could not get his character Frank Underwood out of my head for quite a good chunk of that film because basically it kind of highlights for me how he couldn't quite do that accent, Daniel Craig,
Wow.
because it when you hear someone who I might be wrong, but I'm assuming that Kevin Spacey absolutely nails that accent.
But then
And there are moments when Daniel Craig's talking and I can hear Daniel Craig's voice.
you can definitely hear it at points.
Yeah, it's usually like the last word in the sentence, which
Yeah.
is often that's probably what's going to happen
But then I
because
would say, considering his actual accent and how much of a challenge this is, I mean, I think
hey, I wasn't. I'm not a paid actor.
it's true. I mean,
I mean, if you're
I
getting
heard
paid money to do an accent,
I think
maybe I'm harsh, but
he chose to put such a strong infliction on it, apparently, because I think it's more that it's only it's written apparently that it's only slight, and he put it on more heavy because I think that's what he wanted to do. But I
right.
think full props to him. Because at first I thought, oh, it's quite jarring to hear him with a different accent because he's got like such a brilliant voice anyway. I think why couldn't they have just settled on his actual voice? But then for me, I think it lends more to his character. He's almost like a caricature, almost, I think.
Yeah, and actually, that's an interesting point. Caricature. I think
Yeah.
there are quite a few of these characters, and maybe this is another thing that kind of I didn't quite love. That a lot of these characters feel a bit caricaturish. Not that they don't have any depth. I think there is depth there. It's just they're kind of like heightened type of character. So I was thinking like Wes Anderson,
Mm.
his stuff. You know, you have these characters who are all kind of zany, and there's a bit of that going on. Definitely a bit of that vibe. I wasn't quite feeling that
Mm.
myself, and that's just me. I'm sure other people would disagree, but some of the characters to me seemed a little bit kind of I don't know. It wasn't quite as effortless as I would like. It was a little bit hammy, that word
Yeah.
that you used.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too hammy for me. Because yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion, I guess.
Interesting. I mean, I think it's entirely fair criticism. It very much feels. I think the thing I kept coming back to when I was remembering was the reason I probably voted it higher in my mind is that it's fun. It was fun to watch. I think I was engrossed in what was happening, and for this type of film, I mean, we've spoken previously how
Yeah,
I think when you vote one film in a particular category a high rating, you're not necessarily saying, well, this is on the same level as another film
yeah,
in a different category.
yeah.
I
That's true.
think for this category of film, it rates highly for me because it keeps you engaged. It's an interesting story plot. It's kind of the way the plot is happening, and I did enjoy the characters. I think
Yeah,
the way that's done, yes, it does feel a bit like um, I don't know that there isn't terribly a large amount always to say about each individual character, but it's not the story. I don't think is in service of the characters. It's more in service of the story directly, if that makes any sort of sense. I guess
yeah,
saying that we've got an end plot that we need to get to. This is very much a mystery. You're watching a mystery novel, aren't you? That's
yeah.
the way.
I don't know. I mean, what kind of genre would you put this in?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Because like, if you say, oh, if it's a whodunit,
Yeah.
I mean, that's I'm sitting there thinking, well, what other whodunits have I seen recently?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
it.
like, I guess there's kind of like you would go with some of the crime stuff is often a whodunit if it's like a serial killer stuff,
Yeah.
but that doesn't have that kind of tone at all.
No,
It's
because
kind of
it's
it's
got
like an old fashioned mystery
and it's got
with
a
a
lot of
modern
comic relief.
twist.
I think it's reviving
Yeah,
for probably for the director in particular. I think it's reviving things for him that things that he used to watch. You know,
yeah,
it does. It has a ring of that it's a love letter,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And it was funny at one point. Someone's watching the TV and Murder She Wrote's on there, which I thought, okay, yeah, little nod to that.
Yeah, and it is. I
Yeah,
mean, it's kind of like a more a harsher version of one of those episodes,
yeah,
isn't it? It's got
yeah,
a ring of Poirot to it as well. I think it's
yeah,
all of that. I think that's what it's trying to emulate the old, but giving a slightly more modern spin on it. I mean, even
yeah,
as much to say, I think I put in my notes about them dropping out a majority of F bombs, and I think that's to get a lower rating.
yeah.
But it I kind of like that. I think it
Yeah, it
elevates
doesn't
it a
need
little bit more because
swearing on there.
it doesn't need it. It does drop a swear word or two in there, but I think
Yeah,
they're peppered in, and it therefore it doesn't feel like it's going for any sort of shock value. It's more
yeah,
leading you along with those characters to get your ultimate reveal at the end. I think all of that is, yeah,
yeah. I think generally for me, like as much as I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't think I had as much fun as you did.
yeah,
Um, I guess part of me, maybe I was in the wrong mood. I don't know because sometimes the mood can affect how you're feeling. But
yeah,
I just felt like it was kind of like I'm waiting for certain things to happen. I guess certain reveals,
okay,
certain beats that it's going to hit. And they did all those things quite nicely. I wouldn't say that I was disappointed. Near the end, that ending bit is quite good. Oh, headphones fall now. Yeah, the ending bit's quite good
yeah,
with the reveal.
yeah,
Um, but I guess I can't get away with some of the things. Some of the things just put me off it, I guess, and probably meant I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have liked to. I mean, like the music. I mean, that was one thing. It was fine, and it kind of was appropriate music for that genre. And I think if you're saying that it's that kind of harking back to a certain period in cinema and that kind of the old style whodunits, it kind of has that feel. Um, but on the same side of that coin, you have that kind of like it's a bit obvious. And I don't know. Some of the stuff felt a bit obvious to me, even
yeah,
though I don't know one man's obvious is another man's kind of warm and familiar
yeah,
and nice. You know, it's a good thing. So I think it's just an opinion, I guess.
yeah.
So
Which I mean,
anything else, Brendan, that you've got? Come on, bring it out.
I think so. I'd written down a few things because we often have a sort of standard, don't we, that we look to like certain things that we want to talk about in the films. And I think I made a couple of notes like Christopher Plummer. I think naturally the gravitas that comes often with
Yep.
an older actor, but especially one such as Christopher Plummer. I think he's great in every scene he's in. So I think he has a natural elevation to that scene. He brings
Yep.
amount of I think you really want to follow what happens to his character because his character seems so interesting. So in all
Yeah, he's quite playful, isn't he? You can see that he's being quite playful in those scenes. And yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, all of that's good. His delivery generally across everything is great. I love all of that, and I think the connection between Ana de Armas's character, so Marta, and his, and then her correlation to the other characters is also really good. I think she's particularly good in this because I liked that sometimes it's not even necessarily like she needs to say anything. There's so much that's emotive through her reactions and her in her eyes, and I really like, especially off the back of us talking about her in Blade Runner, and then seeing her in this and thinking, she's great. I think she brings a lot to her roles, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And actually, she's basically the lead, isn't she?
Yeah.
She carries this film.
Yeah.
She's very good.
I think her emotional connections, right, are what I think that allows you to tie into the rest of the film. If the emotion's not there, I think the rest of the film kind of falls flat without it, because it isn't just about the comedy. I think you're waiting for her to succeed, aren't you, really? That's what you want.
There's also an element that actually a lot of these other characters are horrible.
Yeah.
And obviously you get to that point at the end, don't you, where Benoit Blanc talks about her kind of having a heart and being kind, and actually everyone else in that family are basically horrible monsters.
And that she's still so kind that in the end she even
she's thinking of giving them money.
Which is great. I mean, so I loved all of that. I really enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed Daniel Craig. I think there's that speech that he has about the donut, which is completely ridiculous, but I actually really liked it. I mean, that must have been crazy to learn all of those lines for starters, and for it just to come out and he somehow makes it make a sort of sense.
It's an interesting character, isn't he, Benoit Blanc? Because he's kind of like, he's hailed as this kind of great private investigator, this great sort of detective, but he's quite goofy, isn't he? He's quite kind of obviously you'd expect him to be a bit quirky, but he kind of comes across as a bit of an idiot.
And he's kind of comic relief, isn't he?
A lot of it.
I think he feels like he's comic relief, almost more than the other characters. I mean, the only other person I think you could say is comical is I don't know really. It's hard to say.
The Nana isn't she? She's kind of comical without doing anything.
I think Chris Evans also is quite comical in a weird sort of way, because in, I suppose, a more darkly comical sense. But his delivery on some of those moments. I mean, I made a list of scenes that kind of stood out for me, but one in particular I was going to mention is the reading of the will is particularly great. When he's there. So they do the reading of the will, and when I think it's at that scene, or it's maybe at a later scene when they're sat around the fire with Frank Oz explaining to them that they can't go back on it. When he says he tells his family to eat shit. And then you get Michael Shannon that just says, "I will not eat one iota."
That was great. I watched this film with the subtitles on, and that bit came up on the bottom. It really made me laugh. I mean,
great. That's really good.
I think Chris Evans is an interesting character in this. He's obviously not in it that much, really. Kind of comes in very briefly at the start.
He's more
briefly in the middle, and then at the nearer sort of the second half, and particularly at the end, you see a lot more of him. And it's nice to see him play kind of like a bad guy.
I mean, I'm thinking also off the back, because I've been watching MCU, obviously, as you're aware, and I think off the back of that and knowing how in the public, especially, I think he's perceived through playing Captain America, he's very much the lawful good character, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's always good, and so when
Yeah.
you suddenly just have him in this, where they just let him off, they let him off the chain and just let him be truly nasty,
Yeah.
and it's good because
Yeah.
it works. Because I think it's kind of a shock. You immediately kind of want him in a weird sort of way when you see his
Yeah.
face, because if you know him, you think, well,
Yeah.
you're project. At least I did. I projected onto him, just thinking I kind of want to like his character, and then
Yeah.
they don't give you any reason to like him throughout the film.
Yeah, especially I guess they kind of lead that up or like kind of lead you down to think that way when he's seemingly helping Marta's character.
Yes, yeah,
And out of everybody, like everyone else kind of rejected her apart from him. And
yeah.
then obviously you find out that actually he's trying to set her up basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's great. I guess one of the things that often can happen with an ensemble is that you don't get to see some people as much as you would like.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think I made
Yeah,
a note of Jamie Lee Curtis particularly. I
yeah,
think I wanted more from her, because she's really good at playing comedy. She's
yeah.
good at playing
She's great.
comedy, and I
She's
think,
great at everything.
yeah, and
Yeah,
she has like moments where you see her being like bitchy as a character, and I think I really wanted kind of
yeah.
more. I
And
think,
I always love Michael Shannon.
yeah,
I think he's an absolute tour de force,
and he does a good
and
job.
he is great in that.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's just one of those things, isn't it? You kind of miss out sometimes, but what can you do?
It's hard. You've got a lot of probably heavy hitters here.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Toni Collette really stood out actually in her role.
Yeah.
I find that she just has such presence on screen. I mean, it's hard to kind of go like out of the cast that you've got to have someone who goes and stands out in a scene.
Yeah,
But I
definitely.
found that she kind of does actually.
So I think a lot of it, again, I've now said previously already, especially with Anna de Armas, her
Yeah,
looks. I think it's a similar thing with Toni Collette. A lot is said in just a look, and
yeah,
I'm such a fan of that in films, when a
yeah,
look can almost say a thousand
yeah,
words done
100%.
so well. Yeah,
Always, always.
and that's brilliant. I think all of
Yeah,
that is
no,
great,
I
and
agree. I did enjoy Don Johnson kind of being angry as well. Like he
yeah,
kind of simmering anger the whole time,
yeah,
and kind of obviously he's kind of a bit of a scumbag as well. But yeah, he was kind of. I enjoyed him actually particularly as well. But yeah, in terms of great scenes, my favourite moment I think probably was the one where you find out that Marta has that weird thing of throwing up if she lies, which I want to give massive credit to Rian Johnson, because that is an amazing sort of thing to think up. I don't know if that's true, but that for me, that scene is where I really started engaging with the film,
yeah.
because I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Because if you've basically got someone who cannot lie because she will be given away if she does, how brilliant is that? And then when you have the scene where you see what actually happens, or at least from her perspective, then you're like, oh my word, how is she going to cover her tracks here? And then obviously things kind of spiral from that point on, with the note from the blood results or whatever. For me that scene particularly stood out. Also, the kind of the big reveal scene was great, and I did see it coming with the knife, because he drops it in there, doesn't he? Harlan talks about not knowing what a real knife or a fake one. So you kind of see it coming, but it is fun.
The way that all of that is done, though, is really nice. Like I paid special note to, I think, the general set dressing, how everything's done, and the fact that one of the detectives says he lives on a literal clue board, doesn't he? He says that, and how it's laid out. It looks like an old kind of murder mystery house. All of it is lovely. I think it's really good. The giant Christopher Plummer painting, and then you've got the backdrop of the knives that circle around the characters.
Yeah, because there's that point, isn't there, at the end where Benoit Blanc's kind of sitting there, and it's like a kind of one of those old Christian kind of paintings with the kind of the big halo behind the saint.
It's lovely. I just think iconography wise, I think all of that is good. He definitely nails the sense of the set dressing being kind of part of what really is showing the story as well. All of it plays into it, the setting. I mean, largely a lot of the film is basically taking place in and around the grounds of the house, isn't it? Mostly inside the house, and then just around the house as well, with a few other shots elsewhere. But mostly for most of the film, it's just kind of that. And I think I made special note as well to when you get to the end of the film, you've got the the shot of her triumphant at the top of the house, and she's kind of
that's amazing. That shot's great.
Looking over at the family,
they're all staring at her, aren't they?
And she's like holding the mug. That's what I think I wrote it down here. It's got "My house, my rules, my coffee," where she's just she's drinking, and I really love it for an ending because it says a lot without saying anything at all as well. Because knowing the character is talking, you see the wrap up of Ransom being taken away, and then that's kind of it. So for me, I really enjoyed it.
The other gag that I liked is when they kept talking about the masturbating Nazi. The kid, Michael Shannon's son. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
The kid masturbating in the bathroom.
Did you read any of the trivia about the characters?
No, I didn't. I don't know. Go for it.
The trivia about that particular character is it's based around the Twitter, the Twitter trolls, effectively, for his previous effort film, The Last Jedi. And so I just think it's interesting that he gives it a platform basically to rag on people that he's just annoyed at, like you didn't understand.
I mean, Rian Johnson is fairly involved on Twitter, isn't he?
We love him or hate him as a director. I personally really like what he does. He's not for everyone. I totally get that. And you're more than entitled to not like a film. That's fine. But I don't necessarily think I've ever agreed with people bullying other people for just ridiculous reasons. I mean, I've been bullied in my life and I do not stand for it being a thing that's right. And so I'm strongly against that. But he stands against it in a good way. I think he's using his powers for good. And the fact that he can just call people out in another film just made me appreciate more, or it made me laugh about it, really. But
no, it's fair play. One other character I would like to just highlight is Mr. Lakeith. Mr. Lakeith Stanfield, who plays the lieutenant, one of the detectives, and he's there kind of keeping Benoit Blanc kind of in check, but also he's kind of knows who he is and respects him. So he's kind of got this weird kind of role, hasn't he? Kind of caught in between. He's the one who's actually in charge of the investigation.
Yeah.
But he's a great actor. I remember him in Get Out. He's great in that. He's really good. He's kind of really freaky. And I saw him in a film called Short Term 12. I don't know if you've seen that. It's got Brie Larson. He's really good at that as well. So he's definitely one to watch, is what I would say. I don't know what he's doing soon, but
interesting.
He's also in Uncut Gems,
which I have not watched.
What?
I've not.
I really want to watch that again, so maybe we should do Uncut Gems at some point.
It's on the list. It is on the list.
It's. Have you seen Good Times?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, so it's Robert Pattinson.
Oh, okay.
So that's the film they did before Uncut Gems, the Safdie brothers. Okay, so we might have to sort this out.
Okay.
Okay, because anyway, we're talking about Knives Out. Let's not talk about Uncut Gems, but it's definitely worth a watch. Okay, it's an both of those films are not just films; they're like experiences. Okay,
Yeah, as much I've heard. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, Knives Out. Any last thoughts, Brendan? Anything we haven't talked about yet?
I don't think so. The one other thing that I've got written down here highlighted is Chris Evans' character calling
Oh, he's lost
calling
it.
Daniel Craig CSI KFC, which I really, really
that was very good, wasn't it? It's almost like a blink and you miss it moment, isn't it? You kind of like, wait, what did he call it?
Yeah, but I love that. I think you know my feelings. You can get the general vibe for how I feel about it. I enjoyed it. I think at first it's a slow burn to start, definitely.
Yep.
But once it gets into it, I think for me it kind of got its claws in and dragged me into the story. It's not for me when I'm talking about star ratings, there can be quite a large gap between half a star rating. Because when I'm talking about a 5-star film, I'm often talking about something that I consider that has to be watched, you know.
Yep.
And a 4.5-star film, it had so little in it for me that stands against it that I had to rate it high because I enjoyed so much of it. I couldn't mark it lower because I'm thinking about films that I have marked lower, and especially considering the type of film it was, I think it delivers on its premise wholly for me. But
Brendan's a happy man.
I am a happy man, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think I admire this film. I enjoyed much of it. I think, on reflection, I think it's probably a tad too long. Actually, I wonder if
I would
that
agree,
might be a problem. But then Rian Johnson is trying to fit a lot in. I think I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I think I'm not surprised that people love it and that it's got kind of the acknowledgements that it has. There are bits of it that are really fun. For me, some of it was a bit familiar, or at least kind of not entirely predictable, but kind of wasn't surprised. I just didn't have as much fun as I hoped. And a part of me would like to just say that sometimes hype does spoil films.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I just wonder if I wanted this to be not the film that it was, or that I thought it was going to be great, and it wasn't quite as great as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it again one day and think, Dan, what the hell are you talking about?
Maybe you should have just had that whole thing of not watching House of Cards.
Well, after what happened with Kevin Spacey, I had to stop watching it. I just couldn't watch it anymore. Anyway, there's definitely an element that Daniel Craig, I don't think I'm his biggest fan anyway. I just don't think he nailed this character as much as he could have. That being said, he's certainly not the main character, and he isn't the one carrying the film. No. And Anna de Armas is just a star, isn't she? She's going to be massive in films, and I look forward to seeing what she does. But yeah, Knives Out, I enjoyed it. I would say go and watch it to people, but it wasn't my bag quite. I would say quite.
It's fair.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm at peace with that.
You're at peace.
But go and see it. If you haven't seen it and you've decided to spoil the whole experience by listening to us, go and see it.
There you go. Ringing endorsement.
Ringing endorsement. Certainly, if you've got it on Amazon Prime, you've paid for it.
Absolutely. Amazon Prime won't let you forget about it. It's right there.
Yeah. And like going on IMDb when I'm looking at, because IMDb have a connection with Prime Video. It's like you click on it, there's just this massive picture of Knives Out. Before you even get to any of the actual stuff, it's just like massive picture as if to say, hey, don't read about this film, go and watch it
Go
now.
and watch it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
I think we're done
Thanks,
for
Dan.
another week. Another frank discussion ticked off. So, check us out. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we are on YouTube, which is probably where you're watching it. So,
Yeah.
you probably knew that already. Brendan, you're wonderful. I'm going to see this guy in the flesh soon for the first time since February. And even then, I couldn't touch him properly. Well, I think I might have given you a hug, but
I think so, yeah.
Because my children had chickenpox, so even then,
we risked it all for a hug.
We risked it all for a hug. So maybe we should film our embrace.
No, we should.
Although we're not meant to really touch. We're not in a bubble together.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
We'll film us waving from 2 meters away. Anyway, enough about us. I'm sure you don't care. Well, I think our loyal fans probably do.
Yeah, naturally.
Anyway, good night, Brendan, and good night, world. Hey, bye.
Bye.